he feels stress and anxiety at his mother's house, but when he's at his father's house, he feels at peace.
What was his response?
He told me to take him to the children's home. When his father, Jesse, was telling everybody that it was time to go back to the mother's house, that he refused to go and that he was still present at Jesse's house.
And why did he not return Adam?
He said that it was because Adam didn't want to come home.
You're going to have terrible effects on all three of these children if it continues. All right, looks like we have everybody here that we need, so we'll go on the record. This is in the District Court of Greenwood County, Kansas. Case is entitled in the matter of the marriage of Betty Jo Barg, petitioner, and Jesse Dean Barg, respondent, case number 26 DM 13. Would counsel announce appearances, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, Riley Broyles appears on behalf of petitioner Betty Barg, who also appears via Zoom in my office.
May it please the court, Mary Ann Shirley on behalf of the respondent, Jesse Barg, who appears from a different location by Zoom also.
All right, we are scheduled today for hearing on an emergency motion for return of minor child and modification of parenting time filed by the petitioner. In this case, are the issues raised in the motion still in dispute?
Yes, Your Honor. The minor child still has not been returned to petitioner at this time.
All right, Ms. Broyles, I'll allow you to argue the motion at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you prefer that we proffer, or am I allowed to call witnesses and take evidence?
Well, I've read through the motion, so I'm generally aware of what the issues are. But I don't have a preference one way or the other. If you want to put on some evidence, keep in mind we have time constraints, so I'd like to be able to reach a conclusion in some manner today.
Yes, Your Honor, and I would inquire how long we would have. That might determine what witnesses I call.
Probably close to noon.
Noon, okay. Your Honor, then I would like to present evidence or call witnesses if that's acceptable with Your Honor. I would start with petitioner Betty Barg.
All right, Ms. Barg, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you may proceed, Ms. Broyles.
Thank you, Your Honor, but I'm going to move up here so we might be able to be heard a little bit better.
And we're focusing this solely on the issues raised in the motion rather than issues raised in the previous hearing we had.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
All right.
Please state your name for the record.
Betty Jo Barg.
And did you file this verified emergency motion for the return of the minor child and modification of parenting time on May 28th of 2026?
I did.
And did you verify this and sign it in front of a notary stating everything is true and correct therein?
Yes.
So after the hearing on May 7th in this matter, where the court ordered Adam to exercise parenting time as normal, did Adam then start exercising parenting time as ordered by the court?
For the most part, yes.
Well, I mean,
Yes, ma'am.
And how was Adam's behavior during your parenting time with him after the May 7th hearing until about May 25th?
So generally, he was calm, except for like right after he'd come home from his dad's house.
And how was his demeanor after he would come home from his dad's house?
Very agitated, very hostile.
Okay. And then did Adam become upset with you sometime on May 25th of 2026?
Yes.
Can you describe the events that occurred on May 25th?
First one or the second one?
Let's start at the beginning of the day. What led up to the events that happened on May 25th?
The one where he called the cops, or the one where he decided to stay with Jesse?
So let's start at the beginning of the day. How was Adam's behavior at the beginning of the day?
On the day that he called the cops the first time, he had a pretty good attitude up until he was told to go to karate class. He didn't want to go to karate class. I said, okay. But he was grounded, so he wasn't supposed to go anywhere else. He got upset and kept going over to his brother's house where his father and his brother were, and coming back, and at one point he left and got a phone from Ivan and went to a building, about a block and a half from my house and called the cops.
And so you said that Adam was grounded. Why was Adam grounded?
Adam was grounded because he had, right after one of his visits with his dad, he had, started screaming and cussing me out in the road.
And what method of grounding did you use with him?
At first I just grounded him from his phone, and then as it kept happening, I grounded him just from leaving the yard. And then, I started grounding him from his stuff in his room.
And so did you take his phone away from him?
Yes.
Did you allow him to still talk with Jesse at that point?
I would text Jesse and let him know that Adam wanted to talk to him, and then allowed Adam to call him 3 different times, and Jesse only answered once, and I overheard during that conversation Jesse tell him how much he didn't trust me and he couldn't trust me and he didn't want to answer the phone from my phone, and so.
And so did you ever block Adam from communicating with Jesse if he requested it?
No, never.
And so on May 25th, you ground Adam, he gets mad and leaves and goes to Ivan's house or Ivan's property. What happens? Do you know what happens once he gets to Ivan's house?
I don't know. I know that he was in conversation with Jesse and Ivan, and that he kept coming back and forth, because I was sitting in the driveway talking to him because he was working on his trailer, and I wasn't yelling at him. Mostly it was my mom just asking him questions, and he was answering. But he kept going over to his dad's house or to his brother's house and talking to his dad and his brother about it.
And then what happened?
And then at one point he took Ivan's phone, and I was sitting in the driveway, so I could see him take Ivan's phone. He walked over to the Mason Lodge. He said, and then Ivan walked over to the Mason Lodge. About that time, Jesse pulled out to leave, and as Jesse was leaving, the cop showed up.
And then what did you do when you saw the police arrive?
And I just walked down the road to see what was going on and take care of it if I could.
And what did Jesse do when the police arrived?
Jesse had left.
And what happened when the police showed up?
There was some conversation. The police officer let him know that he needed to obey court orders, and that he could either go back home with his mom or he could take him to the children's home.
And what did Adam want to do at that point?
Adam, at that point, he was just kind of agitated, not really. He just said he didn't want to go home. He wanted to go to his dad's. He thought he could go to his dad's, and he didn't think that should be a big deal. But the police officer let him know that that wasn't an option, and he called Ivan over from his house to call Mary Shirley.
And then did he call Mary Shirley after that?
He did call Mary Shirley, and she talked to him for a few seconds, and then she got on the phone with the sheriff's police officer and talked to him for quite a few minutes in private. And then when the sheriff got off, or I think it's just a police officer, not a sheriff, but the person from the sheriff's department got off the phone with her, he just reiterated that, hey, you can either go home or you can go to the children's home, and seemed to try and encourage him to go home and not spend his holiday weekend in the children's home.
Did you hear any part of Adam's conversation with Mary Shirley?
I heard a bit of it, yeah.
Okay, and what did you hear?
It seemed like she was encouraging him to go to the children's home. If you're uncomfortable, go to the children's home. Stuff like that was repeated several times.
Okay. Did Adam eventually agree to come home with you that night?
Not right away, but we went back to the house to get his stuff, and after some conversation with Libby, And the police officer, he said that he didn't really want to go. He just, and decided not to,
He didn't really want to go where?
to the children's home.
Okay, and then he came home with you.
And he stayed home with me.
And then what happened when Adam went home with you?
After that, my sister and I sat and talked to him. Well, first he cried in the backyard for about an hour, and my mom held him and hugged him. And then while Ivan was standing in the street screaming from the road, and then Bonnie and I sat on the sun porch after he had calmed himself down. Her mom had helped him calm down quite a bit, and we had a discussion about everything and just tried to help him figure out ways, better, healthier ways to work through his struggles and his stuff like that.
And did Adam spend the night at your house that night?
Yes.
And can you describe Adam's behavior and demeanor the next morning? So that would be May 26th, 2026.
The next morning, he still seemed to be processing things, and but it was much better. It was like he had calmed down. He had just come to terms with this is he wasn't upset. He was friendly. We had a really good time with because we had a cookout with some friends, and he played, he had fun, he made jokes. He was just normal Adam again.
And then was Jesse scheduled to have parenting time with all three children on May 26th?
Yes,
Did he come pick up the children at that time?
he did.
And then he had his parenting time. When was he due to return the children to you pursuant to the temporary parenting plan?
At 8 o'clock.
Did Jesse return the children to you at 8 o'clock?
He returned Edward and Benjamin.
Okay. And why did he not return Adam?
He said that it was because Adam didn't want to come home.
Did you have further conversations with Jesse about this?
The text that I got said, Adam said, I told the boys to load up, and Adam said he didn't want to go home, and I told him to call the cops.
Did you talk to Adam at all after this?
No,
Have you talked to Adam since he
No.
left for his dad's that day? And then what did you do after Jesse told you Adam wasn't coming home?
I called the police again to let him know that he was doing this again.
And did the police assist you?
Not really.
Did Edward or Benjamin disclose anything to you at the conclusion of data
So-
parenting time?
Edward and Benjamin said that when they got in the truck,
I'm gonna object to the hearsay.
Are those children available?
They're not, Your Honor, they're 13 and 12.
13.
They're both 13, so no, they're not available to testify.
I'll sustain the objection.
At this time on June 2nd, has Adam been returned to you?
No,
Were you scheduled to have parenting time this last weekend?
yeah, it was my weekend. It was my week.
And you did not have parenting time with
No.
Adam
I haven't seen or heard from Adam
since May 26th?
Right.
Okay. Do you believe that it's in Adam's best interest to be returned to your care?
Yes,
Why is that?
because when he's in my care, he can be calm. He can get his schoolwork administered to him. He was starting to get confidence in it. He was starting to enjoy it and be excited about it, where it's been a struggle in the past. And he has all of his friends there. He has all of the people besides Jesse that basically make up his life, that give him security, that give him love, that give him, what kids need. But Jesse's still available to him because I haven't cut that off either.
Are you requesting the court modify Jesse's parenting time to temporary suspension or supervised?
Yes, ma'am.
And why are you asking for that?
Because I feel like, because from what I've seen from the kids, they come home very agitated, very stressed out, very, hostile and angry, and I don't know exactly what's going on over there, but I've heard a lot from all of the kids that would suggest that he is doing what he can to promote that hostility.
And have you talked to Jesse, any further about parenting time since May 26th?
No,
Did Jesse ask you if he can come get Adam's school stuff?
he asked me to pack up Adam's school stuff and take it to the police station.
Okay, and did you do that?
No, ma'am,
And why not?
because I put in these orders and I'm hoping for a good outcome for the kids.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Ms. Broyles. Cross-examination, Ms. Shirley.
Not at this time, Your Honor. I'd reserve the right.
Very well. Additional witnesses, Ms. Broyles?
Yes, Your Honor, I would call Joel Terrell, and he is in my conference room. I can go grab him.
Okay. What is the name of the witness?
Joel Terrell.
Joel
Terrell. Yes,
Terrell. All right, Mr. Terrell, I'm gonna have you raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you may proceed, Ms. Broyles.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you state your name for the record?
Joel Terrell.
And how, do you know the parties to this action, Betty and Jesse Bark?
I do.
And how do you know them?
We are neighbors and friends.
And do you know Adam Bark?
I do.
And can you describe your relationship with Adam?
Adam is friends with my kids, friends with me. We've done stuff together. We talk a lot.
Did you?
But Mr. Terrell, when you turn your head, it makes it harder for.
Okay, sorry,
Hear
I'll
you.
face the camera.
Okay, thank you.
Did you speak to Adam on the day of May 26, 2026?
Last Tuesday, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes, I did.
And why did you and Adam have a conversation that day?
He came over, I think it was somewhere between 4:30 and 5 to ask me the question of, he wanted to know my thoughts on how to talk to his dad about not wanting to talk about the divorce and what I recommended there.
And can you describe that relation or that conversation in detail? What did Adam come to ask you about?
Yeah, so he asked me like what my thoughts were on that. I told him to keep it simple, just tell him exactly what he said to me, like that he doesn't want to talk about the divorce, that he wants to stay out of it, because that's what he expressed to me. And I recommended that he just keep it simple. And he, in that conversation, it sounded very much to me like he just kind of wanted to have a relationship with everyone involved. His mom, his dad, didn't want to get into the middle of it, didn't want to have sides. He just wanted to be able to have a relationship with everybody.
Did he indicate that Betty was injecting him into the divorce issues?
No.
Was anybody else present for this conversation?
No. My wife might have been on the other side of the camper, but no, it was just him and I.
And how was Adam's demeanor during this conversation?
Very relaxed, happy. He was not agitated. He was just like, hey, what do you think? How should I do this?
And how did he leave that conversation? Did he have a plan?
Yes, so he expressed to me that he was planning on just telling his dad right off the bat that he didn't want to talk about the divorce, didn't want to be involved in knowing it. One of the things he did say is that he can't know both sides, and so he doesn't want to know anything. And then he said that his plan was to tell him that and then go for a walk.
And have you spoken to Adam since May 26th?
I have not.
I have no further questions.
Well, thank you, Ms. Broyles. Cross-examination, Ms. Shirley.
Most of what he has just said was hearsay, so I'm assuming that Adam will be permitted to testify. So I have nothing of this witness.
Right. Is Adam available if we need him?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. All right, any other questions for Mr. Terrell?
Nothing.
All right. Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Terrell. You're excused.
Thank you.
You have other witnesses, Ms. Broyles?
I have one other witness. I would call Bonnie Flat, Your Honor, and she's also in my conference room, and I will go grab her as well.
Okay. Good morning, ma'am. Could you please spell your name?
Bonni, Bonnie.
Okay, and
Flat, FLATT.
F-L-A-T-T.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if you could please raise your right hand. I'll swear you in. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you may proceed, Ms. Broyles.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you state your name for the record?
Bonnie, Flat.
And do you know the parties, Betty and Jesse Barr?
I do.
I'm gonna have you direct your,
Okay.
speak that way. so the court can
Ms.
hear you.
Flatt, if you could please speak up just a little bit. I'm having a little difficulty hearing you. Thank you.
And how do you know Betty and Jesse Barr?
Betty's my sister. Jesse's my brother-in-law.
And so do you know Adam Barg?
He's my nephew.
And how would you describe, how would you describe your relationship with him?
He's comes over to my house, hangs out. It's a pretty good relationship.
How often do you see him?
If not daily, every other day.
And did you speak with Adam on the afternoon or on May 26th of 2026?
Yes.
And why did you and Adam have a conversation that day?
Initially it was to give him encouragement so that he felt good about going over to his dad's house and letting him know that everything was okay.
And what did Adam express to you during that conversation?
That he did not want to have any more conversations about the divorce of his dad. He made it clear that he was going to tell his dad that he didn't want to talk about any more court stuff, any more divorce stuff.
Did Adam indicate to you during that conversation that Betty was also injecting him into the divorce proceedings?
No.
And what did you advise Adam during that conversation?
To always just love both of his parents and talk to both of them and to have a good relationship with both of them.
Was anybody else present during your conversation with Adam?
Betty and my mom and my son Nathaniel.
And how was Adam's demeanor during this conversation?
Pretty upbeat, and he was happy he had gotten good grades on his test, and we discussed that too.
And did Adam leave this conversation with a plan that day?
His plan was just to talk to his dad about that and to, he was talking about school and his graduation and stuff.
Have you talked to Adam since May 26th?
No.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Ms. Broyles. Cross-examination, Ms. Shirley.
Nothing. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your testimony, Ms. Flatt. You're free to go. All right, any further witnesses, Ms. Broyles?
I have no further witnesses, Your Honor. I would rest.
All right, Ms. Shirley, do you intend to present evidence?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. I would call Sergeant Mike Cordell.
All right, Sergeant, could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may proceed, Ms. Shirley.
Please state your full name for the record
Mike Cordell.
and your occupation.
I'm a patrol sergeant or supervisor and cannon handler for the Greenwood County Sheriff's Office.
And what training and experience do you have to qualify you for that position?
A significant amount of training and experience. I've been in law enforcement full-time for just over 22 years, a considerable amount of training.
What was your first contact with the Barg family?
I have the dates. If I can just review the dates, I have that handy right here.
And I know you've written a report. I received one right before court started from the sheriff, number 26-349,
Yes.
about the May 21st occurrence, but you indicated that there's another report also. I have not yet received that.
Yes, that one I sent to you, and that'll probably take a little bit to process to get to you. But one was the first one, the first interaction I had was on May 21st, and the second was on May 26th.
Okay. Briefly, what happened on May 21st?
Dispatch received a call from an individual indicating there had been a altercation, not physical, but an altercation with family members, and that they had left the home because their items were being taken from them. So I responded to Climax, where I made contact with Adam Barg on the steps of a building west of his residence.
Okay. And what did Mr. Barg advise you?
He told me that his parents were going through a divorce and that things were not his words, but somewhat tumultuous, and that he had paid for a phone with his own money that he had earned. I believe he said mowing, and that was how he was staying in communication with his father, and that his mother had taken the phone from him, so he couldn't talk to his father, and that. That evening, because he didn't want to go to a family karate class taught by his sister, that he was grounded, and that she had taken, that his mother and his sister's husband had taken all of his possessions out of his room.
And what was his demeanor at that time?
He was upset, visibly upset.
Okay. And what did he want to do, or what did you do?
He told me that he was not going to go back home, and so we discussed the situation. He said that the court had ordered him to be at his mother's house, and but he wasn't going to go there because he didn't feel safe there. I told him that if he didn't return home, that I would have to consider him as a runaway and do a child in needy care case, and that I would not be taking him to his father's house, but I would take him to the children's home.
What was his response?
He told me to take him to the children's home.
Subsequently, what happened?
He called his brother to the location. His mother showed up and was talking to me about the situation, and then he called his brother over and requested that he call you, which he did, despite my objections.
Okay. But you heard the entire conversation?
Yes.
Okay. During the course of the conversation, what kind of questions? Was he just concerned about what the children's home was like?
I don't recall him asking a lot of questions about what the children's home was like. He just told me that he didn't want to return to his mother's house, is what I recall.
Okay. Okay. And didn't he ask questions about what they do and his schoolwork?
Oh, yes. Yes, he did. He not so much questions. So he said he wanted to go. The only question I remember him asking was if he would be able to have his phone, which I told him he would not. They wouldn't allow him to have his phone there. He was determined that's what he wanted to do because he didn't want to be in his mother's home. So I told him that we would need to gather any medications he takes, and since he's homeschooled and does all of his schoolwork at home, that he would need to take his schoolwork with him.
Okay. And did mother object to that?
Yes, she did. She said he couldn't take his schoolwork with him. Several times I told her that he needed to take it with him. She said that if he didn't have help, he wouldn't be able to do it. And then said that he had 2 tests the next day.
Okay. Now, at some point, did he calm down?
He did.
Okay. And what happened then?
I discussed with him the fact that it was a holiday weekend, and that he would be in the children's home until we had a hearing, and that would be delayed because of the holiday weekend, and he would spend his holiday weekend in the children's home. So I asked him are we going to the children's home or are you going to make it work here? And he decided he was going to try to make it work at his mother's house.
Okay. During the course of that, was his brother Ivan also present?
He was.
Were there any altercations or distress between Ivan and any of their family members?
Yes. So we walked back to the house together, Adam's belongings, and I don't know the name, the grandmother. It would be Bonnie's mother, I believe. Told Ivan he was not allowed on the property and that he had to wait at the end of the driveway. So while I was on scene gathering, observing while they were gathering Adam's belongings, the grandmother changed her mind and said that Ivan could come on the property because it's her grandson. And he walked up the driveway and made it maybe 50 yards onto the property and well, 25. And the grandmother went to give him a hug. He refused. And then another verbal argument ensued and she kicked him off the property again.
With regard to getting Adam's property, was he able to do that?
He wasn't allowed to take any of the possessions from his room, which children's home wouldn't have allowed him to have anyway. He gathered some items. His mother escorted him, and he gathered some items. And then there was a disagreement over some of the school materials. She ultimately was going to let him take his school materials, but not the answer key that would allow somebody to grade his work, because she said that was the only one they had, and that they had other children that needed it. And so he was in the process of gathering his items when we had that second discussion where he decided he was going to stay.
Okay. So after that, what happened? What did you do?
I left the scene at that point, and shortly after that, received a call that Jesse Bark, the father, wanted to speak with me.
And did you do that?
I did.
And what was the nature of that conversation?
He expressed that he was just concerned about Adam's welfare because he had received a call from Ivan that Adam was pretty upset and was yelling and stuff, which he was while I was on scene. And so he was concerned about his well-being, his mental state, as he put it. He expressed that he had already lost one child, and he was concerned about the mental well-being of Adam.
And what did you advise him at that point?
So I told him the same thing that I told Adam, which was that the best thing that Adam could do was to write a letter to the judge I was told there was another hearing coming up in July. And I had told Adam and I told Jesse the same thing, that the best thing Adam could do is just take some time, organize his thoughts, and write a letter to the judge expressing how he feels about the situation. I told him that that's one factor. That's not a guarantee that he would get what he wants, but that's one factor that's usually taken into consideration to some degree. And that the best thing to do is just wait for the next hearing and let the court make a determination.
Okay. Did you leave then? Did you have any further involvement that date?
So while I was on scene at Jesse's house, he received several phone calls from Ivan expressing some concern that he could still hear Adam yelling at the house. So I requested another deputy respond over there and listen to see what they heard. And then I left Jesse's house and responded back over there. And we just parked in the dark and listened to see if there was still an ongoing issue that we needed to worry about. And by the time we arrived, there was no yelling or any other noise.
Did you have any subsequent contact with his family?
No.
Okay. Okay. What about on the 26th?
So on the 26th, I received a call from Adam expressing that he didn't want to go back to his mother's house. It was an hour before he was supposed to go back, and I told him, this is your father's parenting time. There's nothing I can do for you. This is not a law enforcement matter. and that, if he refused to go back, then I guess we'd have to cross that bridge when we come to it, and reminded him that he might be classified as a runaway. He called again 45 minutes later, and told me that when his father, Jesse, was telling everybody that it was time to go back to the mother's house, that he refused to go and that he was still present at Jesse's house. So I made a few phone calls and then drove out there to speak with him.
And what was that contact like?
So I had called, spoke with individuals with juvenile intake, and also with our prosecutor, just to make sure that I was thinking along the same lines that they were. I was advised by them, which just confirmed my suspicions that, according to DCF, he wouldn't be classified as a runaway because he was present at a custodial parent's house and not refusing to be at a custodial parent's house, so he wouldn't be classified as a runaway. And that because of that, this ultimately boiled down to being a civil issue for the family courts to handle. And I was advised that this is just a situation that the attorneys and the judge would have to figure out. So I went there and I spoke with him. He told me that when his father was leaving, that he stood in the doorway and refused to go, and that his father told him, "Well, you need to call law enforcement," because he didn't want to be in trouble for violating a court order.
Okay. Did he tell you why he didn't want to go home to his mother's?
He said that while he's at his father's house, he's able to talk to his brother and have communication with family that he wants to have. But when he's with his mother, that he's not allowed to communicate with his brother or go to his house, and that he feels like he's manipulated at his mother's house.
But he didn't tell you how otherwise?
Um, Not that I recall. He told me that he's not allowed to, he gets in trouble if he goes to his brother's house, which is on the same property, I believe.
Are we talking about Ivan?
Yes. He told me that he gets in trouble if he goes to Ivan's house, that he's not allowed to communicate with him, that he's not allowed to have his phone to communicate with his father, and that he feels stress and anxiety at his mother's house, but when he's at his father's house, he feels at peace and he doesn't feel like he has to choose sides. But at least that's how he described it.
Okay, so he doesn't have to choose sides at which house?
At his father's house. That's what he told me.
Did you take any further action with regard to this matter at that time?
I did not, other than documenting it in a report. I did. Well, that's not entirely accurate. I did. Betty did call, and I called her back and spoke with her, and explained to her that because it was explained to me that it doesn't constitute a situation of a runaway, like the previous situation where he had walked away from home and was sitting on the street, because he was with a custodial parent, that I had been advised that it wasn't a runaway situation, and that legally there was no, I could not get involved in their civil issue and force him to go back, because when I asked him if he would stay if I take him back, he said no. And so, given the statutory updates that have taken place recently that require us to take all of these things into consideration before removing a child from the home, there was no legal justification for me to pick him up and take him back where I was certain he would run from.
Okay. Now, when she called you, what did she want you to do?
My assumption would be that she wanted me to pick Adam up and bring him home, but I explained to her that, early on in the conversation, that because it doesn't constitute a situation of a runaway juvenile, that I couldn't do that, and that this was something she would have to speak with her attorney about.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Thank you, Ms. Shirley. Cross-examination, Ms. Broyles.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Officer Cordell, did you have a conversation with Mary Shirley on the evening of May 25th when you were present with Adam?
May 25th? No.
Is that the evening, wasn't your testimony that when you went to the property where Adam was not at either party's residence,
That was May 21st. Yes.
Oh, I apologize. Let me restate the question. On May 21st, did you have a phone call with Mary Shirley?
Yes, I did.
And what did you and Mary discuss in that conversation?
So Ivan had brought the phone over, and Miss Shirley was on speakerphone while Adam was explaining what was going on. They didn't have much conversation at that time. She asked who was there, and at that point, I kind of took the conversation over because I'm familiar with Miss Shirley. I mean, she's worked with our agency in the past. So I spoke with her and I explained what was going on, and that my only recourse if he refused to return home was to take him to the children's home. And her response was that maybe that's what he needs.
Miss Shirley didn't indicate that you should enforce the court order.
No, I think she understood that I can't force a 17-year-old boy to go into a home that he doesn't want to be in and stay there. I mean, I'll tell you the same thing I explained to Miss Shirley on that date. I asked him, if I take you back home, will you stay there? And he said no. And that typically constitutes a situation of a runaway for us. We're not going to respond 8, 9, 10 times in a night to try to force a 17-year-old back into the home. It's just not tenable. And so the only recourse I would have at that point is to take him to the children's home, especially in consideration of the fact that there was a court order that he be at the mother's house rather than living with the father. And it seems like taking him to the father's house would have just rewarded the act of leaving. And she agreed with that.
And that evening when you made contact with Adam, you testified that he indicated he didn't feel safe at Betty's home, his mother's home. Did he say why he didn't feel safe there?
He said that because he wants to live with his father, that everybody in the family is against him, and that he's kind of like the outcast, and that he's not allowed to communicate with his brother or his father while he's there.
Did he indicate that he was in any sort of physical danger at mother's house?
No, he indicated that that he had some concerns about his brother-in-law, his sister's husband, but nothing specific to indicate a specific physical concern.
And to your knowledge, does his brother-in-law, his sister's husband, live with Betty Bard?
I don't know.
Did Adam indicate to you that Miss Shirley was discussing the particulars of this divorce with him?
No.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, anything else for the witness, Ms. Shirley?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. Counsel, I need to tend to a matter real quick. I'm going to just take a real short recess and then we'll return.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Angela, can I get a breakout with Mr. Bard, please?
Of course.
Did we lose Ms. Shirley?
I think they're in a
They're in a
breakout.
breakout room, Judge.
Okay. All right, well, I'll give him just a second then, but I'm ready to go whenever she returns. All right, we'll go back on the record. Same appearances as before. There were no more questions by either counsel for Sergeant Cordell.
No, Your Honor.
No, Your
All right. Ms. Shirley, do you have additional witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to call Adam.
Your Honor, I will object to the 17-year-old testifying. If anything, I think it would be more prudent for the court to, again, interview him in chambers or speak with him separately. I don't think it's appropriate for him to be testifying in front of his parents at this time.
All right, before I address that, I did receive, and I have not read this yet, or my AA received an email purported to be from Adam. It's very lengthy. I'm from an
I
email.
have not seen that, Your Honor.
Ms. Shirley, do you know anything about this?
I have not seen anything, no.
Okay. Well, it's addressed to me through Angela. It's 9 pages long. Again, I don't know what's in it. But I think it's important that I have some information. I mean, I don't know if he wrote it or not, perhaps.
Your Honor, he is available, not in the room with my client. We had him wait outside. He is available if you would like to talk to him about that. We could all, Jesse could leave the room and let him come in and you could do a breakout room with him. As you heard, Deputy Cordell or Sergeant Cordell, I guess, um, told him he could contact you. I think, very honestly, that he needs a guardian ad litem be appointed. I think that this is over 17-year-old with a twin sister who's been married for over a year. He's not a 6-year-old. I think he's capable of doing a lot of this on his own, but I think a guardian ad litem for the kids, for all of them would be great.
When does he turn 18?
Not until, I believe, January,
February of next year.
February. Okay.
All right. I was going to propose a guardian ad litem, but that doesn't fix what a decision that needs to be made today. If he's available and he can visit privately with me in a breakout room,
I think
I
that'd be,
would like to address him. Ms. Broyles, do you have any opposition to that?
Can I confer with my client shortly, Your
You
Honor?
may.
Your Honor, we wouldn't have an objection to you speaking with Adam privately, emphasis on privately. We don't want Ivan to be present. We don't want Mr. Bart to be present either. So as long as it's completely isolated, that they can't hear him, that they're not in his presence, we would be fine with that. My client would like to know regarding the 9-page letter. She's his homeschool teacher, Your Honor. She does not believe that he would type out a 9-page letter. She frankly believes that Jesse Barg is the one who wrote that and is, and maybe Adam signed off on it, but she does not believe that Adam would write a 9-page letter. So I just wanted to state that for the record, but as long as it's a private conversation with no one else present, then we would be fine with you talking to him in chambers.
The intention would be, I don't want anybody else in the room. I don't want anybody else to be able to hear the conversation I'm having with him. Can that be guaranteed?
absolutely.
Okay. Well then, if he could be brought in, I'm going to visit with Adam privately.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let's take a brief recess to allow this to happen. All right, Angela, could you set up the breakout room, please?
Yes, Judge.
Jesse, we're setting up a breakout room. Hit join, please. I'm going to have a private conversation with you. All right, there's Jesse's back. Okay, we have everybody back we need.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we'll go back on the record. The Barg matter, same appearances as before. I've been visiting privately in a breakout room with Adam. I had discussed the 9-page email that came with him. He indicated that he himself did not type it, but his brother Ivan typed it as he was basically transcribing it for him. I told him that I wasn't going to read it, that I would just listen to what he had to say. So that's what I did, and I still have not read the email, and Adam knows that, and I told him the reasons why I wasn't going to review it since he didn't draft it himself. But anyway, I did have a good conversation with Adam. I do have concerns, but before we move further, is there any more evidence that either party wants to present?
I have 2 additional witnesses, Your Honor, but if you've talked to Adam, if you've made some sort of decision, I don't need to put them on.
Okay, and what type of witnesses would they be, Ms. Shirley?
Ivan would simply testify as to what he observed on the two incidents at the farm, the yelling, the screaming, the refusal to give Adam his property, that sort of thing. Some of the underlying issues that he has observed on those particular dates in question, and his contact with his brother. Mr. Barg could simply advise that basically his testimony would simply be that he did not discuss case matters with the child unless the child specifically asked a question, and he made sure that the younger children were not present when he tried to answer specific questions that Adam would ask.
Okay. I think after having visited with Adam, I don't think that additional testimony would give me any different insight than I feel that I already have based on what's been testified to here today by all the witnesses.
Okay.
Ms. Broyles, is there anything else? I'll allow you each to make a brief argument in support of your positions.
I have no further witnesses. I'd be happy to proceed to a closing statement, whenever the court's ready.
All right, I am ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, I mean, the evidence is pretty, I think, clear, at least as to the fact that Adam is not going to parenting time with Betty as he is ordered to. I think there is evidence that was presented that shows that he is being manipulated. And Your Honor, yes, he is 17 years old, but however, he is naive, and he is still a child. We do not allow him to be injected into these proceedings. That we protect children from these proceedings for a reason. It is very clear that he's being manipulated, one way or the other. Obviously our position is that it's father who's manipulating him. I think they'll say it's the other way around. But it's very clear that this child is being manipulated, triangulated, and frankly, it seems like he has figured out that he can kind of do whatever he wants, and there's going to be no consequences. And the court, we're asking the court to nip this in the bud now. This is just going off the rails, I think, as the court can kind of tell. And this child needs to be put back on the right path here. Mom testified that, he was fine and in good spirits with her. Yes, he got mad when he was grounded, but he's 17, he's a child, he gets grounded. She did nothing out of line. She did take his phone, but allowed him to have access to father if he wanted to. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, some would argue that's what she should be doing, is disciplining a 17-year-old because he's not an adult. He is not free to make his own choices, and his parents need to make the choices for him. And mom does that. She makes the choices for him. She appropriately disciplines him. I don't know what's going on at dad's house, and maybe, dad's house is the fun house and he can do whatever he wants. And of course he wants to stay there. I don't know. And that's probably something for the guardian ad litem to figure out, what is going on at dad's house and what's going on at mom's house. We do need to get to the bottom of this, but in the meantime, this child needs to be returned back to mother. He is fine at mother's house until he goes to dad's house, and then he never wants to go back to dad's house. I would also ask the court to stop allowing counsel to be involved with this child. I think it's extremely inappropriate. It's inappropriate that he was at her office for the last hearing. It's inappropriate that this child feels comfortable enough to call her and just discuss this case with her. It's beyond, and frankly, it's edging toward me filing a motion to disqualify her, because she's turning into a witness at this point. If she's having conversations with this child, it's extremely inappropriate. So I would ask the court to admonish Ms. Shirley from further discussions with this child, and admonish dad for having discussions with the child. I had two different witnesses testify that this child talked to them, that that Adam does not want to have further conversations with dad. He didn't say anything about mom having these conversations with him. It's all dad. And even if the child, because he is a child, asked dad about the divorce proceedings, he should not be giving him specific information about any of this. Again, it's a manipulation, it's triangulation and it needs to stop. And if dad's not going to stop it, then the court needs to stop it and stop giving him parenting time. So we're asking the court to suspend his parenting time until we can get a guardian ad litem in, if that's what the court wants to do, or at the very least, his parenting time needs to be supervised so that he can't further manipulate and estrange this child from his mother. Because this child needs both parents in his life, and we're not trying to take dad away from Adam, but until these issues can be resolved, that apparently is what needs to happen. Until we can get a guardian ad litem in who can figure out what the problems are, dad's parenting time needs to be either supervised or suspended so he can't further poison the well of Adam against mom. Because these are going to be lifelong issues that this child's going to have if these estranging behaviors continue. And so as set forth in our motion, we're asking the court to either enforce the current order and order that the child be returned to mother as the current court order requires, and modify dad's parenting time to either supervise or suspend it on a temporary basis. And I would make, it's not in my motion, but I would make an oral motion for a guardian ad litem to be appointed to, like I said, get to the bottom of this. So that's what we're asking for today, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Broyles. Ms. Shirley?
Your Honor, I believe that in our initial answer to the petition for divorce, we addressed many of the things that are now coming up. My client has been, since learning of what's been going on for the last several months, immediately preceding and then the divorce filing and then subsequent to that, he's concerned about the safety, well-being, and education of his children, not just this child, but the other two also. With regard to Adam specifically, Miss Broyles is making these allegations. I've known this family. I've known the father and all the boys. They eat at the restaurant. That's one of my clients. So I've known the family for a while, not her because she's never with them. But I know Mr. Barg and all the boys because they eat at the restaurant. And so I've known them for a while and they're comfortable with me because I'm friends with the restaurant owner and we'll stand out back and eat ice cream. This is not like the first time these kids have run into me. This is a small community, obviously. And I resent the implications. The only times that I have talked to him is when I tried to explain to him what the process and procedure was, and nothing specific. And the fact that he's comfortable with me, I'm glad. You know, he needs to be able to talk to someone. And that's why I think a guardian ad litem is absolutely necessary to avoid this kind of conflict allegations. With regard to the placement, he's comfortable where he is with his father. I don't know why the conciliation order has not come through yet. I thought that was supposed to be done several weeks ago.
Is that not that process hasn't started yet?
No. I've given my client the name and contact information, but I haven't seen the order yet.
Your Honor, counsel and I conferred and we agreed upon Christy Campbell to be the domestic conciliator. I reached out to Christy. I provided my client's contact information. I do not believe Ms. Shirley has provided her contact information for her client. The order for domestic conciliation was filed as part of the hearing order that I filed pursuant to Rule 170. I did file that last week. There was a little bit of delay on my end. I will fall on that sword. But regardless, I think we're waiting on Ms. Shirley to provide the contact information for her client to start that process. But the order not being filed, I don't think has been the delay.
Okay.
I have not seen any order submitted by your office.
Okay. Well, I'll just ask that you all confer and try to make sure that process gets started sooner rather than later. But I don't want to argue about that now. I want to try to address the issue currently before the court.
Well, currently before the court, Your Honor, I think the guardian ad litem needs to be appointed and this child needs to remain where he is, and that mental health evaluation and that sort of thing, if necessary, be started on all the parties. Consequently, we'll get to the bottom and find out what's going on and why this child, this young man feels the way he does.
All right, thank you, Ms. Shirley. Is Adam in counseling? I didn't ask him that when I was visiting with him.
No, Your Honor.
All right, I have concerns from both sides here that there's alienation going on from both sides of the family. And I thought at the last hearing that I made it clear to the parents that they're not supposed to be doing that. And it sounds like, well, maybe if it's not the parents doing it, it's the family members. There seems like the parents are saying, well, I can't say anything to you, but Uncle Bob or Grandma Mary, they can do all the manipulating and feeding Adam full of information and bad things about both sides. And I think it's going on from both sides, and that needs to stop. I don't have any authority over all of the relatives, but both parents, you need to tell whoever it is that's living with you, whatever relatives, sisters, brothers, grandmothers, uncles, aunts, not to be visiting with any of these kids about what's going on in the case, about how bad the other parent is, about what they're doing. These kids don't need the burden of this. You all have created this, both of you. And you're going to have terrible effects on all three of these children if it continues. Frankly, it upsets me that we're even here today doing this. When the child, Adam, is refusing to go to mom's and there's a court order that clearly defines what the parenting time is, dad should have been telling him he needs to go. And the fact that Adam doesn't want to go, there may still be problems. I stress to Adam that, he'll be 18 in a year, but until he turns 18, he's got to follow rules in both houses. He may not like some of the rules. He may not like losing some of his possessions or his phone or getting grounded, but he's got rules to follow. And there may be one house that's more lenient than the other, but he's just going to have to deal with that. And he had some concerns about his schooling, and maybe that's in limbo now because he hasn't been home where mom has the materials. But if he needs to be able to access whatever school materials he needs, and whoever's exercising visitation. I'm going to order a guardian ad litem for all three kids. Is there any objection that the same guardian ad litem be appointed for all three children?
I have none.
Okay. Do you all have somebody you would like to recommend, or can you agree upon somebody? I don't know who's doing guardian ad litem work in Greenwood County currently, if the Coopers do that, or
I don't think so. I think it's Stephanie Hughes has the contract, I believe.
right, but I don't think that applies to private.
I think
cases.
she takes private also.
Okay. Well, do
I
you
think.
all want to confer and try to come up with a guardian ad litem? I know Christy Campbell's done that in the past, but if she's going to be doing the conciliation, she obviously can't be the guardian ad litem here. So
Yeah,
if you all want to exchange some names and see if you can come up with someone, I'll have you do that. If you don't have anybody by the end of the week or can't agree on somebody, let me know and I'll find somebody. I think Susie Locke does it for Butler at least. I don't know if she would do a Greenwood case or not. But that needs to happen sooner rather than later. I explained to Adam that I was likely going to do that, and that would give him somebody he can confer with as his advocate, as well as the siblings, as to what's going on from both sides. I explained to him that if he didn't follow the rules and ran, that he may end up in a children's home. I told him he didn't want that option because the children's home where he would initially go may be nice, but where they would send him to a foster home is probably not going to be an environment he wants to be in. I don't want that for him. I hope the parents don't want that for him. So whatever each of you, and I'm talking to mom and dad, are doing to him regarding this case, stop. Ivan, I'll address you. You're not a party to the case, but I don't know if, don't talk to these kids about the other parents or about the other family members. Let them enjoy their summer. Be 17-year-old kids, and how old are the other ones? 15 or 13?
12 and 13.
12. They don't need to be involved in your drama. So hopefully the domestic conciliation will start, but you all need to end this. I don't want to be back in court every couple months or every month with these motions because there's continued issues in this regard. I'm going to order dad to pay attorney's fees, $1,000 for not having the child returned to mom. Court orders need to be followed. If they're not followed, attorney's fees will be assessed or parenting time will be lost. I'm not suspending or modifying parenting time. Now, I don't feel that that either parent are physically harming the child. They're not being deprived of food or shelter or clothing. I have some concerns that maybe there's some about their mental health, and I think counseling would be of benefit to all of these kids. I know there's expenses involved, and I know where you all are located, it's not easy to access counseling, but I'm not going to necessarily order mental health counseling at this time. I'm ordering the guardian ad litem, and the parents are going to be responsible for the costs of the guardian ad litem. I'm going to order that be done in the same percentage that I ordered for the costs of the domestic conciliation. If the guardian ad litem feels that counseling is necessary, then they can report that to the court. But I'm going to order that the same parenting plan be in place, and that both parents need to encourage the children to comply with the court orders. If Adam doesn't want to go to mom's at the end of your parenting time, Dad, you have to tell him, too bad, that's the order of the court. If you turn 18 and don't want to go see mom or to go see dad, he can do that, but until he's an adult, he's got to follow the rules.
Can we have the exchanges at the sheriff's department, Your Honor? I think that will alleviate some of this.
Your Honor, I don't see, I mean, there's no testimony that there's any sort of conflict really between the parties at these exchanges. I think a police station exchange would stress out the kids more than it would solve any problems.
Yes.
That would entail them driving into Eureka when don't they all live like down the street from one another? Or
Oh, no, Your Honor. My client is living just at the edge of Eureka.
But my client
And
lives
Climax
on
is only about, I think, 12 miles. It's not far. But that would alleviate Jesse having to argue with him if he's sitting at the sheriff's department, then we don't have, and the officers are tired of being called. It'd just be easier.
Your Honor, I would continue to object. I think it would stress out the kids. And in my experience, police officers don't really like when you do exchanges there and they're, have to get involved unnecessarily. It's, makes it just that much easier for them to have to get involved. So unless there's some sort of physical safety concern, which I don't think there is here, that we would ask for the exchanges to continue as they have been.
Well, I think exchanging at the sheriff's department is a good idea, and that'll be the order of the court. I am gonna have an order that law enforcement be given the authority to assist in making sure the orders are being complied with. Otherwise, we're gonna have the same situation that the officer felt that he was in on the 26th when he felt that he wasn't able to act. But I think if the language in the order gives them the authority and orders them to enforce the court's orders, then there shouldn't be a problem. I'm hopeful with the current direction that there's not going to be continued problems, because I've had similar cases that they start out like this, the parents can't get along, there's continued manipulation by both sides. The cases end up in sync court, and nobody wants to be in sync court. So don't do that to your children. All right, Ms. Broyles, are there any other orders or clarifications you feel are necessary?
I don't, Your Honor. I will be happy to draft the order, from today's hearing.
All right, Ms. Shirley, anything from your end?
Other than my objection, of course, to the attorney fee award. And I just received a little thing from the child that he's not going to go.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, what did she receive? Is he in the room that he's
No.
aware of these orders being made?
No, he's outside in
Listening?
the library. No, he is at the public library.
Is he listening into these orders?
I can't, I'm in my office in Woodson County.
Well, I would
child
inquire
is at
of,
the library in Eureka.
well, I would inquire of the other two individuals who are in contact with Adam if he is present and listening to these orders being made.
Well, I
Yes,
don't, I
he
know
can
he was
hear-
in a room with Ivan, but regardless, whoever he's with needs to tell him that he's got to follow these rules. I explained to him in private conversation the consequences of not doing so. So,
Your Honor, respectfully, I'm just letting you know, he's not in the room with us. He is outside. He had told me before this hearing that he would not go back, that he was afraid for his safety and how he was going to be treated. And he told me that before the hearing. Because of everything that's been said, I was texting Mary Ann and letting her
Oh,
know.
okay. I apologize, Your Honor. I thought it came from him. Okay.
well, and he made him an indication.
I don't know. Your Honor, I
That
don't know
may
what
be
to
the
do with
case,
that.
but I explained to him that he doesn't want to do that, that's not a situation he wants to put himself in.
Yes, I understand.
The parties, I encourage the parents, whether I understand you probably don't agree with my orders, but it's your obligation as a parent to encourage him, tell him that he needs to follow the court orders. So,
I understand, Your Honor.
Ms. Broyles, if you could draft up the paperwork, and both counsel, if you can do whatever needs to be done to expedite the domestic conciliation process and getting a guardian ad litem on board, I think that that's absolutely necessary in this case.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.